So besides doing computations with arrays, we'll often want to plot results. And so that brings us to the topic of graphics. The main plotting library in Python is this Matplotlib library. And we're going to talk about a little bit of the Matplotlib model and how we make plots in Python. So it is another library, so we will have to import something. We're going to use this function subplots over and over throughout the labs. And it creates for us a figure of a given size. We'll see later we can get a grid of figures. But the basic format is it gives us this thing that's a figure object and a thing called an axis object. And the axis object is where we actually make the direct calls to plots. So what we're going to do here is we'll have a figure and axis. We'll generate some data, and then we'll plot it. OK, so x and y are random normal. And we see when we plotted it, we got this strange looking mess. We probably wanted a scatter plot here. So for that, we're going to, instead of using plot, we're going to change the plot a little bit.
Oh, it joined all the points up with lines.
Yeah, it made a line plot instead.
Okay. Yeah. Which sometimes is useful, but not in this example.
Yes, so this,
okay.
You'll have to.
So let's see the point plot.
OK, so we can do that by adding an argument to the plot method. So if we put an O here, this O is supposed to represent a circle, and that tells the plot method that we actually wanted a scatter plot instead of a line plot. OK. There's also actually a scatter method if we directly want to use a scatter plot. OK, moving on. So this is a big library. There's a very good documentation for it if you have any other questions. So we'll often want to do things like, make a nice plot, so we'll want to set labels. There are methods for that. The set x label, unsurprisingly, sets the x label axis, and the rest of them are pretty self-explanatory.
Oh, so you can make the plot and then add things to annotate the plot. Is that right?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. That's one of the strengths, I think, of the Matplotlib model is that the axis is an object. It's just a Python object. You can change it, and then it will change what is represented in the figure. So if you redisplay the figure after changing the axis, you'll see those changes.
That's very nice.
So you can make a plot step by step and plot it in stages until you like it, rather than having to get everything out at once. So the figure object is this is if we had changed something to axis, we can redisplay the figure by just ending a cell with fig. So in this example, we're just going to change the size of the figure. It has methods as well, and we see we changed it from 8x8 to 12x3. So we'll often, we might want to make a grid of plots. It has these rows and columns arguments, and here we added a few things to the figure. We put a plot in two of the squares there, and then redisplay the figure. OK, this is not a very interesting plot, but you can imagine if you have a delicate computation to make, you can fill these things one by one and then redisplay at the end with calling fig. So of course, for homework or for other things, for a paper, we'll want to save them. There's a save fig method that we can use to save the final answer.
So that's very nice. I mean, it's really important to be able to make plots easily when you do statistics and applied statistics. And so having a nice way of laying out plots and annotating them is really important. So this is very nice.
Yeah, it's a very nice library. Takes a bit of getting used to, the fact that you plot things to the axis object, but after that.
And you'll see throughout the labs in the book that Jonathan's used a consistent style of creating figures using this kind of layout, subplots layout. And so by the time you've done all the labs, you'll become experts in using them as well.
Yes. Yeah. So this first lab sets up several things that we'll see over and over again, like the RNG, the default random number generator. We use that wherever we create random number generators, so we have reproducible results. We'll have the same way of creating plots. As two big things.
You got some pretty plots to show us, do you?
Well, yeah. There's some contour plots, if you like. So here's if we have a grid of x values and a grid of y values, and we evaluate a function of x and y, we can create a contour plot with that.
Show us.
Okay, let's show it, yeah. And there's one additional thing that's introduced here. This is the outer method. So, np.multiply, unsurprisingly, takes arrays and multiplies them. The outer multiply takes the entry-wise product of these two vectors. You can also add .outer and subtract .outer. Many standard functions have these outer methods. Okay. So it has nice default contour plots. You can change the number of contours if you like. And by inspecting the arguments of contour, you can find more about that.
It's a weird function.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
And one last thing is, instead of a contour plot, you may want to just make a heat map. And that is the imshow method makes a heat map from an array of data.
Oh, now you're showing off.